In these tough times, it's easy to look back with a certain degree of fondness on the 80s. What an idyllic time it was, especially in the US where, according to my cinematic education, every good-looking young person got to work as a councillor at a lakeside summer camp. After a long hot season, singing songs around a campfire, hiking in the woods, drinking alcohol and copping off with whoever took your fancy, the last night's party always ended with nearly everyone being brutally murdered by someone or something that lived in the woods. What a time to be alive, I hear you cry. Well, never fear, you're not going to miss out on this once-in-a-lifetime rite of passage. Thanks to the work of developers Supermassive Games and publishers 2K, I can take you on a summer trip that you will never forget in the XboxEra review of The Quarry. Played from a third-person perspective, the game is described as a survival horror interactive drama and is the spiritual successor to 2015's Until Dawn. After an Evil Dead referencing title sequence, we are introduced to the first of 9 playable camp councillors who are travelling up to the camping ground a day before everybody else arrives. During this prologue, some standard slasher genre tropes are wheeled out for our viewing guilty pleasure. At night, during a moment of driver distraction, someone or something is hit, damaging the young lover's car. The girl, seeing something in the shadows, wanders into the trees alone until she gets spooked or is chased back out again. An untrustworthy cop with an attitude appears out of nowhere, recovers the car and orders them not to visit the camp until daylight. But of course, they disobey his instructions. After spotting someone trapped in the storm cellar below the main lodge, our plucky heroes overcome a padlock and clamber down into the dark depths to help. Alas, like in all horror films, this turns out not to be the brightest idea, and within seconds a monster has been unwittingly unleashed. I'll attempt to keep this review as spoiler-free as I possibly can, but it's worth mentioning that fans of films that begin in this way will probably enjoy this gaming experience. Now, the laziest player on the planet can actually enjoy the whole thing in what the developers term movie mode if they so wish. This removes every interactive requirement and presents the story in a roughly 10-hour experience along the lines of a Netflix series. Those who actually want to play the game will be tasked with keeping the 9 playable characters alive whilst taking turns playing between them over the course of one night. How you treat or behave towards other people has a bearing on how they'll react towards you from that moment forwards. Therefore, in a scenario where strength is definitely in numbers, it seems like a pretty good idea not to annoy anybody unnecessarily, at least not on your first playthrough. After all, a gang that plays together will hopefully stay together. Whilst creating the feeling that you're watching a film and allowing you to relax in the quiet moments, the game has subtle ways to keep you on your feet and stop your attention from drifting. If you usually look at your phone during gameplay, that is ill-advised here, as an array of different interaction triggers can be presented to you at a whim. Quick-time events come at you in sudden chase scenes, often in groups of 2 or 3, and items like tarot cards, which can be collected to grasp a brief flash of a possible future, can only be picked up for a fleeting moment or you'll lose them forever. Instances of don't breathe can occur at any time, requiring you to hold your breath until you consider the coast to be clear. Breathing in early and signalling your position may not only cause some slight disadvantage to a character, but may also result in their untimely demise. Yep, really, failing a minigame can kill people. I heartily recommend never putting your controller down next to you. The precious seconds required to pick it up could well count against you, especially if an opportunity to escape your predicament via an Olympic button-mashing event is about to slip from your grasp. All of these minigames are introduced at the start of the journey via witty tutorial films parodying the type of safety presentations that visitors are presented with when first arriving at camp. These are well produced and funny to watch, but on occasion do not quite explain the very things that they exist to teach you. QTEs were frankly a bit of a bitch at the start of the game, and I considered it rather odd when I failed the first 7 in a row. It was only when I realised that mechanic was poorly explained in the tutorial that I started to do them correctly and never failed another one during the other 9.5 hours of my playthrough. QTEs play such a fundamental part in how each person reacts in moments of danger that players need to master them as soon as possible. Only the left thumbstick is used, and this has to be pushed in the direction of the arrow as soon as it appears on screen. Do not do what I did and wait until the reducing circle meets the inner circle before moving the stick, as this will result in failure. I am not the only person at least to struggle with QTEs early on, so the tutorial certainly didn't live up to its task. Interrupts appear on screen at key moments, offering suggestions such as shoot or hide. These are not available for long to promote quick decisions, but it's important to remember that there are only some suggestions. Some can be ignored, whilst others should definitely be acted upon. It's a matter of thinking through your actions before carrying them out. For example, shooting at a shadow in the darkness may not be a good idea if it could belong to one of your friends. These smaller choices, combined with pathway choices which have defined consequences, can alter the fate of each character in intricate ways, creating the possibility of numerous different endings for each playthrough. The idea of the first playthrough is to try and keep everyone alive, but even if you fail, you are rewarded by the ability to use Death Rewind in future attempts. This gives players the chance to change 3 decisions or actions that have led a character to their deaths over the night. The device is a welcome one, but not properly explained when it first popped up on screen for me in mid-game. I wasted 2 lives saving 1 character before realising that the 3 lives did not only apply to them and were shared between all 9. This became even more gutting when I managed to get my favourite character killed very late in the game with no rewinds remaining. The game includes a generous portion of exploration and evidence collection, as well as story and action segments. Finding artefacts from the history of the camp will guide you towards solving what is happening around you, whilst collecting evidence about the events of the evening will most certainly be required if the cops are ever going to believe your survivor's story when the sun rises. The acting by a cast of recognisable character actors is unsurprisingly somewhat better than in many films that I've had to watch on video, and it should really be marvelled at just how seamlessly the cinematic cutscenes transition into interactive gameplay and vice versa. This could be one of the best looking games I've played for some time. The detail that has been put into creating this spooky yet glorious environment should be applauded, as it sucked me right into the surroundings with the characters that I was trying to keep safe. Tension ebbed and flowed as the mystery unfolded, but the game did not purely rely on jump scares to make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Peeping through keyholes in creepy old houses and wandering alone through deep dark woods, I was able to feel the isolation and sense of terror. The game starts slowly but builds on folklore and atmospherics, gradually increasing the strangeness and bewilderment until a secret past is exposed and one last act is demanded from the player. The monsters are not exactly a pleasant surprise once they are revealed via a transformation device that John Landis would be proud of. However, this event never gets old after repeated occurrences and adds yet another layer of gruesomeness to what is already a bloodbath of a story. An exotic amputation sequence particularly sticks in the mind days after having witnessed it. For those who like their red stuff turned up to 11, there is even a deluxe pack visual option to make things even gorier, as well as a choice of 3 different cinematic filters that can be applied to the game to skew its appearance from its natural, spectacularly realistic look. For my replay, I would have to choose the scratchy 80s slasher visuals. What else? It's not all horror though. There is a section parodying a well-known slasher cliche where a couple goes swimming, only to become separated from their clothes, requiring them to explore their surroundings in nothing but their underwear. Amusingly, traditional sexism is slyly subverted here, as the female character was soon able to find dry clothing, whereas the male beefcake character remained in his pants until the very end of his story. The dev team clearly have a sense of humour. The game can be played solo, in couch co-op and via online multiplayer. There are far more accessibility settings available than is standard, and although these mostly relate to visual settings, it's very welcome to see different colour blindness options on offer. In conclusion, this game is the complete horror movie package in video game form. Boasting a theme tune in the style of John Carpenter, nothing seems to have been forgotten during the developers' efforts to bring this project to life. The characters aren't just two-dimensional cutouts, the gore is no more gratuitous than fans would want it to be, and even the mysteries supporting the foundations of the plot all make perfect sense. This has been delivered with stunning visuals and peerless performance on the Xbox Series X. This game is such a tribute to a beloved genre that it even contains rules that will help you to survive, if you bother to learn them. It may not be the cheapest, but it sure is an experience to enjoy. Having Jason's kill 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 motif echoing around your head as you play is not a prerequisite, but it sure is fun. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video review, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and hey, why not ring that notification bell so that we can let you know when we've got some fresh content. And we'll see you next time.